The remote directs the drone directs the dog. The French military is taking a relatively new technology in a completely new direction. Payot is the name of the Belgian Malinois you see here. He's the first dog in France's armed forces that was trained to be guided by drone, meaning he follows the machine instead of his handler to potentially dangerous places. Payot can venture as far as 1,000 feet away from his handler like this. It creates more distance between servicemen and women and whatever they're pursuing. A radio allows the dog to hear his handler's commands. It's reportedly like a game for the animal, who can now follow the drone, detect explosives, and attack a suspect if needed. Payot's been in training since he was 10 months old, and he's getting ready to retire at age 7.5. His next assignment will be sofa dog. But the French military now has dozens of animals training with drones, and officials say it hasn't been hard to teach them. This is the world from A to Z with Carl Azus. I'm Carl Azus, thankful to have you watching as our spring season winds down. This will be our last full week on the air before we scale back production for the summer. Next on our rundown today is a new segment we call Around the World in 80 Seconds. Tariffs are expected to go up this week on imports of steel and aluminum into the United States. President Donald Trump announced that the current taxes will go from 25% to 50%. That means a company importing $100 worth of steel will go from paying a total of $125 to a total of $150, with the added tax money going to the U.S. government. The president says this will help the U.S. steel and aluminum industries as demand increases for American-made metals. But critics say it could cause price rises on items like imported cars and canned foods, and that it could hurt the U.S. relationship with companies that sell steel to America. Within days of Russia launching its largest aerial assault on Ukraine, that country targeted Russia on Sunday with numerous Ukrainian drones. They were aimed at air bases deep inside Russian territory. Ukrainian officials said dozens of bombers and surveillance aircraft were hit. Russian officials called the strikes, quote, terrorist attacks, and said several planes were affected, but that there were no human casualties. The two nations' war continues. And in Canada, more than 25,000 people have been evacuated across 3 provinces. The reason? Wildfires, which have been worsened by ongoing dry and relatively hot weather. The Canadian government said there were well over 100 different blazes burning over the weekend, with dozens out of control. Concerns about air quality stretched well beyond Canada.
Canadian officials declared an extreme risk for wildfires for the Northwest Territories and Alberta to Ontario. That's the highest level on the country's fire risk scale. The heavy smoke filling the skies, and now that haze pushing south, impacting air quality in major cities in the U.S. This same situation happened 2 summers ago. This EarthCam time-lapse video from June of 2023 shows the New York City skyline disappearing in heavy smoke due to wildfires in Canada. The air quality then was considered hazardous.
It's this higher concentration that you're breathing kind of overwhelms your body and can lead to kind of the health issues that we expect from air pollution.
A recent health study out of New York's Mount Sinai Hospital found, quote, matter from wildfire smoke can have health effects up to 3 months afterwards, well beyond the couple of days that previous studies have identified. That's why health officials are telling people to check air quality levels and stay indoors if it's not safe. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Word and out. Which of these women was youngest when she became America's first lady? Jacqueline Kennedy, Eleanor Roosevelt, Grace Coolidge, Frances Cleveland. At the time of her wedding at the White House in 1886, 21-year-old Frances Cleveland became the nation's youngest first lady.
On this date in world history, June 2nd, 1886 saw a wedding day like no other. 49-year-old U.S. President Grover Cleveland married 21-year-old Frances Folsom, a woman he'd known since she was a baby. It was the first and only time a president got married at the White House, and Frances Cleveland remains the youngest first lady in American history. On this date in 1924, U.S. President Calvin Coolidge signed the Indian Citizenship Act into law. It officially gave that status to all Native Americans born in the U.S., but it was controversial for several reasons. Some tribes wanted to govern themselves without U.S. citizenship status, and some communities continued to deny citizenship benefits like voting to Native Americans. And June 2nd is celebrated as Republic Day in Italy because this was the date in 1946 when the nation replaced its monarchy. Change was in the air after World War II, and the vote to establish a republic sent Italy's last king, Umberto II, into exile.
A Japanese artist lifting his latest creation, a cute frog holding a little leaf as if it were an umbrella, carved out of a leaf. The artist, Lito, practices what's called kiri-e, the art of paper cutting.
I thought it would not be easy to make a living with kiri-e because there are many kiri-e artists out there. When I was working on kiri-e, I discovered this way of expression suits me, concentrating on detailed work.
And by expression that suits him, he means using leaves instead of paper. Lito came across leaf cutting for the first time in 2020. It's a very intense, time-consuming process. One little piece can take up to 8 hours to make.
Leaf cutting also demands attention to detail. I have been exploring different methods, but the core value has always been to keep at it patiently.
Lito says he's had strong concentration power and a long attention span since childhood, but his artistic journey began after he was diagnosed with ADHD at 31 years old. Lito says he always struggled to fit in, but that his diagnosis helped him understand what made him unique from others, and that his differences could be his strength.
I didn't have my place, which led to low self-esteem. Once I started making art, people appreciated it. If I can make people happy by doing what I'm doing, I want to do more.
And he did. He began throwing himself into his love for art. Many people saw his detailed work on social media in posts showcasing a few of his works, like this aquarium piece with a whale and some onlookers. And now, Lito has published books featuring his leaf cutting works and hosts a solo exhibition at least once a month in Japan.
A Loco windbreaker. A Fridays are awesome sling bag with everybody's favorite hairlines. These are ways to show you've got spirit, for the world from A to Z. Check out our new merch store at worldatozorg/store, or just scroll down on our website and click Shop Our Merch Store. It means the world to have you wearing the world from A to Z. Got a lot of schools up north that are still in session. Mr. Toner's class. Great to see you at East Norriton Middle School. It's in Norristown, Pennsylvania. Mr. Scheid or Sheed's class, thanks for watching from Comstock Park, Michigan, home of Mill Creek Middle School. We heard from Osseo Senior High School, where Mrs. Thompson's class is watching from Osseo, Minnesota, and across the northern border in Canada. Hello to Mrs. Luting's or Luting's class at Brookside Public School. It's in the community of Lucknow in the province of Ontario.
Where in the world? This is a nation with 3 capitals. It shares its name with the continent where it's located. You'll find it between the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. This is South Africa, whose capitals are Bloemfontein, Cape Town, and Pretoria.
It was in the South African legislative capital of Cape Town that a large marine mammal recently galumphed into the suburbs. First off, that's a real word, galumph. Second, it's how an elephant seal estimated to weigh 2 tons inexplicably intruded inland. Authorities were concerned it would go too far to find its way back to the ocean, so they sedated it, transported it to the beach, and directed the wayward elephant seal to galumph back to its aquatic habitat. True, it might have felt sealed off from society, though it probably wasn't holding its breath that it could stay and didn't really blubber about it. The animal probably thought it remolting that people ate fish from cans, wondered why all the bulls and cows it saw had 4 legs and ate grass, wished land elephants wouldn't put on so much of a trunk show, and couldn't galumperstand why there was no pedestrian crossing. In the end, it felt that sea away from the sea and was happy to get back in the swim of current events. Speaking of that, we'll be doing it ourselves tomorrow and hope you'll be right here. I'm Carl Azus for The World from A to Z.